The skill you trained for is the first one the machine learns to do without you. Sarah Chen had been a legal secretary for 19 years. Same firm, same floor, same desk by the window overlooking Central Avenue in Phoenix. She started in 2007, the week before Lehman Brothers collapsed. For nearly 2 decades, she made the paperwork move. Real estate closings, title searches, county filings, mortgage documents that ran 40 pages with signature tabs on every third sheet. She typed 90 words a minute. She knew every form Arizona required for a residential property transfer. She knew which clerks at the Maricopa County Recorder's Office would process a filing same day if you submitted before 11. She knew which title companies flagged easement exceptions and which ones missed them. In January 2026, the managing partner called a staff meeting. He connected a laptop to the projector and pulled up a software demo. The platform was an AI document system for real estate transactions. It generated closing documents from a term sheet. It populated county recording forms automatically. It cross-referenced title records against public lien databases. It flagged exceptions. It formatted signature pages. He clicked through each feature. Then he said a sentence Sarah would remember for a long time. This handles about 80% of what the support staff does. Sarah watched the demo. The platform did not type faster than her. It did not need to type at all. It did not know the clerks at the recorder's office. It did not need to. It filed electronically. It did not have 19 years of experience. It had been trained on 19 years of documents just like hers. The skills she spent 2 decades perfecting had become a feature in someone else's software. This is not a story about Maria Vasquez. This is a story about which skills die when machines arrive, and which skills have been standing in the same place for 200 years, waiting. There is a pattern here. Once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Every technology shift in recorded history, the steam engine, the telegraph, the assembly line, the computer, the internet, and now artificial intelligence, has created a graveyard. The headstones all say the same thing. Here lies the operator, the person whose skill was the tool, the loom operator, the telegraph operator, the switchboard operator, the typist, the data entry clerk, the person who was fast, accurate, and reliable at running the machine. Every one of them was replaced, not by a better human, by a better machine. And every time, the people who survived were not the ones who learned the new machine fastest. They were the ones whose skill had never been the machine in the first place. This is Last Shift, where we document what happens when work begins to change. In this episode, we are looking at 5 skills that have survived every single technology shift in history. Not because they are hard to automate, because they operate in a space no machine has ever been able to reach. Here is the thing most people get wrong. When you hear skills that survive automation, you probably think of new skills. AI literacy, prompt engineering, data science, the shiny modern skills that every LinkedIn influencer tells you to learn right now. That is not what this is about. The skills that survive technology shifts are not new. They are ancient. Some predate electricity. Some predate the printing press. They survive because they operate in the space between the machine and the problem. The space between what the tool can do and what actually needs to happen. No machine in history has closed that space. Every machine in history has made it wider. The 5 skills in this video are not future-proof. They are history-proof. And the 5th one is the reason every company that fires its workforce eventually has to hire people back. The first skill that survives every technology shift is complex problem diagnosis. Not problem-solving, diagnosis. There is a difference, and it is worth more than most people realize. Everyone puts problem-solving on their resume. Every job description asks for it. But problem-solving, finding a solution once someone tells you what is broken, is increasingly a machine task. Feed the problem into the system. The system returns the answer. That is optimization. That is what AI was built to do. Diagnosis is the opposite. Diagnosis is what happens when nobody can tell you what is broken, when the symptoms contradict each other, when the system behaves in a way that matches no documented pattern, when the machine says everything is fine and the experienced human looks at it and says, "No, something is wrong here. I just do not know what yet." In 1882, Thomas Edison did not just build the first commercial power grid in Lower Manhattan. He built one of the first troubleshooting teams in industrial history. He hired people whose job was not to build generators or wire circuits. Their job was to walk into a building where the lights had gone out and figure out why. Not engineers, diagnosticians. People who could look at a machine they had never seen before, in a basement they had never entered, and work backward from the symptom to the cause. That skill, standing in front of something broken and working backward, has existed in every industry in every era, ever since. Today, the same skill lives in automotive master technicians. The Bureau of Labor Statistics classifies them differently from repair technicians, and the pay gap tells the story. A repair technician follows procedures. A diagnostic technician figures out which procedures to follow. Master technicians, the A-techs, earn significantly more than B-techs, not because they turn wrenches faster, because they figure out which wrench to pick up. The repair is a process. The diagnosis is judgment. It lives in cybersecurity incident response, one of the fastest-growing occupational categories in BLS projections for 2024 through 2034. When a company discovers a breach, the first question is not how do we fix it. The first question is what happened? How did they get in? What did they touch? And are they still here? That is diagnosis. Root cause analysis in a domain where the attacker is actively hiding the cause. It lives in emergency medicine. AI can read a chest X-ray faster than a radiologist. Multiple studies confirm this. But when a patient walks into an emergency room with chest pain, shortness of breath, and a blood pressure reading that contradicts their heart rate, when the symptoms do not match any clean pattern, the ER physician is not reading an X-ray. The ER physician is doing what Edison's troubleshooters did in 1882, standing in front of something that does not make sense and working backward. AI is extraordinary at pattern matching against known problems. It is structurally incapable of diagnosing novel ones. A novel problem, by definition, has no pattern to match. Machines solve problems. Humans find them. If your job is solving problems that someone else identifies for you, following processes that someone else designed, executing steps that someone else defined, the person doing the identifying is safe. You are the one whose job description is a checklist, and checklists are what machines were invented to execute. The second skill that survives every technology shift is persuasion and narrative influence. People call this a soft skill. They mean it as a compliment. What they are actually saying is this is the skill we do not measure, do not train for, do not promote based on, and do not consider essential. They are wrong. It is the most durable economic skill in recorded human history. Consider the track record. In ancient Rome, the ability to persuade a crowd determined whether you governed or were exiled. The skill was rhetoric. In the 19th century, the ability to persuade a readership determined whether you shaped public opinion or were ignored. The skill was editorial judgment. In the early 20th century, it made careers in radio. In the mid-20th century, the same skill moved to television. In the 21st century, it moved to YouTube, podcasts, social media. The medium changes every generation. The skill, making someone believe something, feel something, and act on something, has not changed in over 2,000 years. It has merely changed addresses. Today, this skill lives in sales leadership. According to research from the Institute for Supply Management, AI can analyze negotiation data, identify patterns, suggest optimal strategies, and draft contract language. But it cannot navigate a live negotiation. It cannot read the moment when a deal is about to collapse. It cannot sense when the person across the table has lost trust and needs to hear something specific, not data, not logic, but a story, to re-engage. It cannot feel a bluff. It cannot build rapport by sharing a failure. It cannot create the kind of human connection that makes someone say, "I trust you enough to sign this." Complex business-to-business deals still close the way they closed in the 1950s. One human persuading another human that this is worth doing. The technology around the deal has changed completely. The moment of decision has not changed at all. AI can generate text. It can write emails, proposals, pitch decks, ad copy. It produces content at a speed and volume no human can match. But generating text is not persuasion. Persuasion is not about producing words. It is about producing belief. Belief requires something AI does not have, a stake in the outcome. When a salesperson tells a client, "I would not recommend this product for your situation," that costs the salesperson a commission. That sacrifice creates trust. An AI has no commission to sacrifice. Its recommendation carries no weight because it carries no cost. Information is free. Influence is not. Here is the personal test. At your company right now, there is probably someone very good at building the thing. The product, the analysis, the report, the software. And there is someone very good at explaining why the thing matters. The person who can explain why the AI's output matters to the board is worth more than the person who built the AI. Not because explaining is harder than building. Because the explanation is what turns the build into a decision. And decisions are where value is created. We are halfway through. And here is what is becoming clear. None of these skills appear on a certificate. None can be measured by a test. None can be verified by a credential. That is exactly why they survive. Because the things that can be tested are the things that can be automated. The moment you reduce a skill to a standardized exam, you have written the specification for the machine that will replace it. The third skill that survives every technology shift is physical craft in unpredictable environments. This one surprises people. We have been told for 30 years that manual labor is low-skill work, that blue-collar jobs are the first to go, that the future belongs to knowledge workers. Learn to code. Get a degree. Move out of the trades and into a cubicle. Look at what actually happened. BLS projections for 2024 through 2034 show electricians earning a median of roughly $61,000 a year, with projected job growth of 6%, faster than the national average. Plumbers and HVAC technicians show similar trajectories. Meanwhile, white-collar knowledge workers, accountants, junior financial analysts, administrative professionals face the sharpest AI displacement pressure in a generation. The people we told to leave the trades are watching their replacements arrive in a software update. The history goes back further than most people realize. Roman aqueduct engineers solved fluid dynamics problems in terrain that had never been surveyed. They used instruments that would embarrass a modern high school physics lab. Every aqueduct was a unique engineering problem forced into a unique landscape. Medieval stonemasons built cathedrals that still stand 800 years later, each a custom project shaped by local stone, local soil, and local geometry. Industrial-era pipe fitters laid infrastructure for cities that had never existed before, solving problems in crawl spaces and behind walls where no two situations were identical. Today, a licensed electrician walks into a house built in 1948 with knob and tube wiring, a panel modified 4 times by 4 different owners, and a problem that appears in no manual. The electrician does not look this up in a database. The electrician stands in a basement, holds a voltage tester, and figures it out. The skill is not the tool. The skill is spatial reasoning, improvisation, and physical problem-solving in an environment that has never been mapped and will never repeat. Robots work in factories because factories are structured environments. Every station is in the same place. Every part arrives in the same orientation. Every action is repeatable. A crawl space under a 1940s bungalow in Phoenix is not a factory. A leaking pipe behind a plaster wall in a 100-year-old brownstone in Brooklyn is not a factory. A live electrical junction in a commercial building, where 3 previous contractors did something different, is not a factory. Structured environments can be automated. Chaos cannot. This is not a sentimental argument about the dignity of manual labor. This is a structural observation about what machines can and cannot reach. Automation needs predictability. It needs sensors that can map the environment, actuators that can operate in the space, and a decision model built on prior examples. When the environment has never been encountered before, when every job site is different, the machine has nothing to train on. The person who can fix what is broken in a space that has never been mapped is doing work no algorithm can replicate, because the algorithm needs a map, and the map does not exist. The fourth skill that survives every technology shift is translating between domains. You have heard the advice 1,000 times. Specialize. Go deep. Become the expert. The person who knows more about one thing than anyone else is irreplaceable. That advice is half right. The person who knows one domain deeply is valuable, until the domain gets automated. Then they are the most specialized, most credentialed, and most obsolete person in the building. The person who survives is not the deepest specialist. It is the person who can translate between two specialties that do not speak the same language. This skill has existed for as long as there have been domains to translate between. Medieval scribes who moved between Greek, Latin, and Arabic were not valued for their penmanship. They were valued for carrying knowledge from one world into another. Diplomats in the 17th century performed the same function between governments. In the 1960s, when mainframe computers arrived in corporations, there was sudden, desperate demand for people who understood both the computer and the business. People who could sit with engineers who spoke in machine language and executives who spoke in revenue and translate in real time. The job title was Systems Integrator. Today, the same person is called a product manager. The job title changes every generation. The skill is identical. Knowing what one group does not know about another group, and bridging the gap. McKinsey's research makes an important distinction here. The routine coordination layer. Managers who schedule meetings, relay messages between teams, track project status. That layer is being automated. Major companies have already cut thousands of coordination roles by deploying AI dashboards that make cross-team information visible without a human relaying it. But the strategic translation, the person who sits in a room where engineering says it is ready, and sales says it is not ready, and recognizes that both teams are right because they define ready differently, that person is not being automated. That person is becoming more critical. The faster the systems move, the more frequently the translation breaks down. And when translation breaks down, the machine cannot fix it. The machine does not know there is a problem. It sees two data streams that look consistent. The translator sees two humans about to make a decision based on different definitions of the same word. The most valuable person in any organization is the one who speaks two languages that nobody else in the room speaks. If you understand your department's work and someone else's department's work, if you can sense when two groups are talking past each other, you are structurally irreplaceable. If you only understand your own work, you are a module. Modules can be swapped. The fifth, and the one nobody sees coming, is judgment under ambiguity. This is the skill that ties every technology shift together, and it most directly contradicts the dominant narrative about the future of work. The narrative goes like this. Data-driven decision-making is the future. More data means better decisions. Human judgment is flawed, biased, emotional. The solution is to remove human judgment from the process and let the data decide. This narrative is not just wrong. It is structurally inverted. AI excels at optimization within defined parameters. Give it a problem with clear inputs, clear outputs, and a measurable objective, and it will find the optimal solution faster than any human. But the most consequential decisions in any organization, the ones that determine survival, direction, and identity, are never made within defined parameters. They are made when parameters are unclear, when values conflict, when the data is incomplete, when two reasonable interpretations lead to opposite actions, When the cost of waiting for more information exceeds the cost of being wrong, that is ambiguity. And ambiguity is where human judgment has operated for centuries. In the age of sail, ship captains made life and death decisions with incomplete weather data. Uncertain maps, crew morale as a variable no instrument could measure, and a timeline that would not wait for better information. In the 1870s, railroad dispatchers coordinated trains on single track lines, where a wrong decision killed people and a delayed decision killed commerce. In the 1960s, air traffic controllers managed situations no protocol fully covered, where the right call required not just data, but a sense of what was about to happen next. Tonight, in every emergency room in the country, physicians are making calls no algorithm is permitted to make. Because the cost of the algorithm being wrong is a human life, and nobody has agreed on who is liable when the algorithm kills someone. The context changes. The skill, making a high-stakes call with imperfect information, knowing you will be held accountable, is identical across centuries. Here is the final inversion. Chegg was worth $14 billion in 2021. The education technology company had built the dominant platform for homework help, textbook answers, and study guides. Millions of students paid monthly subscriptions. Then ChatGPT launched. Within 18 months, Chegg stock lost 99% of its value. Subscribers canceled. Revenue collapsed. The company had spent a decade building a knowledge base. Curated answers, step-by-step solutions, verified by subject matter experts. That knowledge base was exactly what the language model could replicate for free. Chegg responded by integrating AI into its own platform. But the integration could not replace what the company had built its business on: the human judgment of knowing which explanation a student actually needed. The AI generated answers. The tutors had generated understanding. The company tried to automate the output without preserving the judgment that made the output valuable. By 2025, Chegg announced significant workforce reductions and a strategic pivot that amounted to an admission. The product was never the answers. It was the judgment behind them. This is the pattern. Every company that removes human judgment discovers, eventually, usually after significant damage, that judgment was the product. The efficiency was a byproduct. Remove the efficiency and you have slower judgment. Remove the judgment and you have faster mistakes. AI optimizes for answers. Judgment decides which questions to ask. The moment your company says we are removing human judgment from this process to increase efficiency, that is the moment they are building a system that will produce faster mistakes. The person they will need to hire back is the one who exercises judgment under ambiguity. That has always been the most expensive skill to replace. AI has made it more expensive, not less. Here is what all 5 skills share. They all operate in the space between the machine and the problem. That is diagnosis. Between one person's belief and another. That is persuasion. Between the structured and the chaotic. That is craft. Between one domain and another. That is translation. Between certainty and ambiguity. That is judgment. No technology in history has automated the space between. It has automated the endpoints. The loom automated weaving. The computer automated calculation. AI is automating pattern recognition, text generation, data processing, and routine decision-making. Those are endpoints, things on either side of the gap. But the gap itself, diagnosing, persuading, crafting in chaos, translating, judging without certainty, that is where human value has always lived. Every technology shift makes the gap wider, not narrower. Your most dangerous skill is the one that can be described as a process. Your safest skill is the one that can only be described as judgment. AI does not shrink the gap. AI makes the endpoints faster, which makes the gap harder to cross, which makes the people who can cross it more valuable. That is the structural asymmetry of every technology shift in history. The machine gets better. The gap gets wider. The people in the gap get rarer, and rarer means more valuable. Every forecast in this space says the same thing in different words. Millions of roles will be displaced. Millions more will be created. The net may even be positive, but the net is a lie of averages. The people losing jobs and the people gaining them are not the same people. The gap between them is defined by which skills they carry. The 5 skills in this video are not predictions. They are a historical record of the past 250 years. They survived the steam engine, the telegraph, the assembly line, the computer, the internet, and the first wave of AI. They will survive the next wave because they do not compete with the machine. They are the reason the machine is useful. It is now March 2026. Sarah Chen still works at the same firm in Phoenix. The AI platform handles the closings. It generates the forms, files the records, flags the exceptions. 3 of the 5 support staff were let go. Sarah was not. Not because she types faster. Not because she learned the new platform better than anyone else. She was kept because she is the person the attorneys call when something does not look right in a title search. When the data contradicts itself. When an exception appears that the platform flags but cannot explain. When a deal is about to fall apart at 4 in the afternoon and someone needs to call the other side's paralegal and talk them through what went wrong before the buyer's rate lock expires at 5. She does not type forms anymore. She diagnoses problems. She translates between parties. She exercises judgment. She survived not because she learned the new tool. She survived because she had the old skill. The one that predates every tool she has ever used. The question is not whether your job will change. It will. The question is whether the skill you rely on runs the machine or works in the space the machine cannot reach. Which of the 5 skills do you use every day? And which ones does your job description not even mention? The shift never stops. Subscribe to stay ahead of it. The shift has already begun. Now you know where it ends.